His name is Winston Peters. He was named after the famous British wartime Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Winston Peters, it goes without saying that you are a monarchist.
Well, in the sense that the alternative uncertainty and cost can be huge as you look across other countries. It's very worrying. It's so, how shall I say, not neutral, but it's so politically dominated that you've got to look at what we've got and say, well, given that it's cost us nothing to have this, and we're part of 50-plus nations in a Commonwealth, which is more than half of a majority in the United Nations, there are some things we should be very careful about before we interfere and change them.
My favourite stat, because there's so many facts and figures have come out about this wonderful woman, was that her first Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, who we've referred to, was born in the 1870s. Her 15th and final Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who she inaugurated effectively a couple of days before her passing, was born in the 1970s. That's a century-long span. It just puts into perspective her service to her nation.
Well, there have been, thousands of words spoken, but the reality is that here was a person in a very privileged position who underlined what real service and commitment means. I've seen no better model in my time or in terms of history.
Do you support the public holiday?
Look, we've already had an extra holiday this year, and here we come to make a decision. If one was to ask Queen Elizabeth what she thought, she would tell us to keep calm, carry on. She would know that the economic cost to this country is over $400 million for that day off. And to hear members of the government say, yeah, but people be out spending, demonstrates their lack of understanding of how the economy works. Before you spend, you have to earn, and we're in trouble as an economy.
The Dow Jones has tanked today off the inflation numbers. We're far from out of the woods, and I'm talking about the world economy here.
Oh, quite right. But also our dollar, strangely enough, is very supportive of New Zealand exports at this point in time. And I noticed that with all this talk about climate change and farming and what certain work people want to do, that our dairy industry's earnings are up 17%. This is what's carrying us through at this point in time. We've got so many other problems, but at least there's one bright light there.
The government, in my opinion, may not have got it right around the public holiday. A lot of people who are getting the public holiday will obviously disagree with me there. But did they get it right? Is their timing roughly right around the mask mandates?
Their timing is not right about the mandate. This is months and months overdue. They just kept on control. They kept on making statements and saying things because they were trying to disguise the fact that after 3 ministers of health, the health system is in a mess. That's the real background to this. And to put all the spin and propaganda about it, we're hearing these days, and say that's become far too much of New Zealand politics today. Not the truth, but how you spin it. And that's why so many people are working in Parliament purely as spin merchants rather than doing anything that is of help to the economy or, do I say, this country socially.
Can I ask you about carbon farming? I think this is going to be a real issue for the New Zealand primary sector, and I know that forestry absolutely has a place. Right tree, right place. Jacinda and Stuart Nash and co are fond of saying that. But as it stands at the moment, and I know a lot of people again disagree with me, we're putting the wrong tree in the wrong place in this country, and it's going to cost us. We're in the middle of a food crisis. Some of our very best pastoral land is growing pine trees. As Jane Smith said on yesterday's show, what do we want, pine trees or protein?
Well, here's the point here. When your driver becomes wealth in terms of carbon farming, rather than the objective overall, which was to improve this country's carbon footprint, when it becomes just wealth, you know you've got the wrong plan. And that's my point.
Just to finish with, we haven't got a great line here, unfortunately. We've been singing, or the world has been singing, God Save the King for the first time in 70 years. And I don't want to be ageist about this, but you were born in Winston Churchill's time. You were named after him, as I said. You're old enough to remember the last king. I think it was King George VI. That was the guy that they made that wonderful movie, The King's Speech, about.
Yes, I am. I can recall all of us stopping right around this country for a couple of minutes of silence to acknowledge that. And of course, we had that amazing circumstance that built towards the coronation, where Hillary, just before the coronation date, climbed with Norgay Tenzing and Mount Everest. These were stunning times.
They were indeed. Did you get a public holiday way back then?
No. As I say, the Queen would say, keep calm and carry on. We don't have to have a holiday to respect someone. The proper thing that is happening is actually happening now. So when I saw what the government was considering, I thought, do they understand the number of businesses who are now going to have one more impediment towards keeping their profits going and being able to employ their workforce?
Winston Peters, always good to chat on the country. Appreciate your time today discussing the life and times and wonderful work of a wonderful monarch. Thank you.
Thank you.